A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to Survival of No Limits. And as you can already tell, lots of things have pretty much changed for the better here on Kaiju Force Neo as a whole. The channel's gone through some reformatting, Twitter's gone through some reformatting, and quite a few other platforms of mine have also gotten themselves a little redecoration or a little redesign just to be more modernized and a bit more intricate, yet easy to know. Regardless of all that though, here from this point going on, I'm going to have a lot of new material to work with. And as it turns out, there really are going to be some other stuff that I hope to have here on the line, but today's subject, here in Survival of No Limits, I have number 19, smells. More specifically, scents, regarding every type of possibility that your nose or olfactory receptor can detect in any possible way. I might as well go ahead and start by saying, well, there are scented candles in the room right now. Aromatherapy has really been helping me out lately with all this new stress that's come about. And because of all this though, I really gotta say, I've begun having a bit of an obsession with different scents. Be it from a candle or from a Glade plugin or anything else. Scents are in fact one really big way to identify if something is good or bad. Of course, there are the distinct smells of things out there, like blossoms, apple orchards, citrus, pineapple. Those are in fact the good types of scents that you will want to have with you all the time. There are in fact a lot of bad scents though to counteract against this nice little phenomenon or piece of decor. Methane gas, mustard gas, and mostly gases. Gases, of course, can sometimes be colorless or odorless, which can in fact be 100 times worse than having other types of gases around. Chlorine gas, for example, is certainly a pretty deadly concoction. A concoction of chlorine and a few others that will come around and cause you to suffocate or even worse. But then of course there also comes the much more dangerous and volatile things out there, like sodium azide. That alone was a huge disaster, because it is in fact going to be a combination of not just poisonous gas, but also a way of completely tearing apart your respiratory system and also causing skin lesions and sores that are in fact pretty horrendous already. But that right there is a triple whammy. Poisonous gas, lungs getting ripped apart, and having various skin issues or disorders that would happen because of exposure to sodium azide. But I am certainly not done with any of that stuff when it comes to gases and other harmful substances that can in fact be found within the atmosphere itself. Of course, you have nitrogen gas, which is in fact a pretty big part of the world itself. You have nitrogen that makes up more than 75% of the Earth's atmosphere as a whole. Of course, there's also little parts in there like oxygen and the like, but mostly nitrogen makes up the air as a whole. It's kind of a wonder why we can actually breathe in this stuff without getting hurt. But yet when it comes to liquid nitrogen, whenever that goes into the system, it causes lots of issues with your health for the most part. But again, the gases are mostly a different story when it comes to how the human body can become susceptible to whatever kind of substance may be in the air. There have always been the stories that we've been told about when it comes to gas as a whole when it has been used in biological warfare. World War I, for example, has had a pretty huge, terrifying notion of gases that have been used. There were, of course, the usages of chlorine and mustard gas, those of which are indeed some of the most deadliest that were around at the time. But then, of course, came along some other poisonous gases that would eventually become even worse. But we also can't forget that by today's standards, we do in fact have some of the most powerful that we could ever possibly get a hold of. And the thing is, chances are in the future, we might have ourselves even worse of gases that we could possibly use for any sort of purpose, be it for warfare, for defense, or whatever else that we could possibly do with gases. Scents of any sorts, regardless of what it is, are indeed something very important to keep on alert. Because you never know, something is out there that could indeed smell bad. Of course, there have been the usages of some gases that have been leaking inside of houses, and that of which would eventually cause an explosion due to gas buildup within the houses. The simple ignition, such as the igniting of a stovetop or a lighter or even an electrical outlet that goes haywire, could cause large amounts of gas to combust, which would in turn cause a house to blow up. I especially remember at one point that a family whose house had been blown up due to a high gas leak, large concentrations had filled up the house, and eventually an ignition caused it to blow up entirely. But of course, that story pretty much ended with me getting rid of several things out there. I, of course, sold my PlayStation 2 and all of its games off to this family. I, of course, have had similar stories, in fact, to who some families have had misfortune and all that, but indeed we were able to sell some of our older game consoles to these families out there who were in dire need. I remember selling my Game Boy SP, Nintendo DS Lite, Nintendo Wii, and various other consoles as well. But just to avoid getting off track, I might as well just go ahead and close in on this episode here, because right now we got lots to do here. Lots to go in the way. I mean, this can go on and on and on, regardless of whatever it is that I will in fact be doing. But either way, I still do have lots to work with. But if you want to see more go down on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.